Hello, everyone, and welcome to another small screen Star Wars. As always, I am Julian Musha. I'm joined by, as always, Rachel Wilkinson.
Hello.
And we are here today to talk about Star Wars, as we typically do on small screen Star Wars. We're going to talk about The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 5. It's called Entombed, which we had a really hard time figuring out what this episode was going to be last week based on that title. And to be honest, did not predict a Indiana Jones themed
No.
adventure, to be honest at all.
I thought it was going to be something a little more like, I don't know, maybe along these lines, but I was like, oh, maybe they're probably trapped and have to get their way out of something bad.
Well, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
the Batch searches an ancient treasure that stirs up a shocking surprise. Is the surprise that shocking? Let's discuss. We'll find out. Before we get into the breakdown, I will remind all the folks at home the usual stuff. Follow us on Twitter at Tower Babblecast, Facebook.com/Tower Babblecast, and head over to the website towerbabble.ca, where if you go to towerbabble.ca/live right this second, if you're listening live, of course, you probably already know this, you can watch as we record and interact with us as we record this live. And we do that every Thursday night around between 7 and 8:30 Central Time. We're doing this one's a little earlier because I got hockey to get to. In fact, a little hockey themed, unexpectedly. I got a new hat I got it on sale, a Jets hat, the Winnipeg Jets.
Oh,
very cool. So you can check that out on the live stream right now. And I happen to be wearing a Jets shirt at the exact same time. So just sponsoring the Winnipeg Jets here. If they want to sponsor us, that I'd be happy to. We can change this. It's gonna be a hockey podcast, right? We could just change that. No,
sure.
I don't think.
I'd rather not. But if they want to give us money, I'm all for that. So.
Same. Anywho, that's the usual spiel. I should also mention we just did our Toby's episode, our special year-end awards episode. Lots of exciting twists and turns in that, and that's really fun. That's in the main feed. That's the Tower Babble podcast feed. You can find that everywhere that podcasts are served. So I encourage you to go check that out. And coming up soon, because it's almost the end of the month, can't believe it's 26th already, we're going to be doing our monthly film club. And this month, the film is the 1997 film, The Saint.
Yes.
So, which we all heard of before. We'll talk about that.
I keep forgetting that I need to watch that movie. So.
Yeah, me too. So actually, remind me to schedule the recording of that episode sometime over the next few days. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And you, of course, get that exclusively on Patreon, patreon.com/TowerBabblecast, where for as little as $5 a month, you get access to all of our monthly film clubs, which are exclusive, as well as access to our Discord, so you can chat with us at any time in our fun little chat room. Is it fun to call it, or is it fair to call it a chat room? I guess it's not really, but it kind of is, though, right?
I just feel like chat room has a bad connotation from growing up from the
90s,
late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
So I just immediately get creepy vibes when I hear the word chat room. But
same.
Yeah, I don't know.
They would just tell you, don't talk to strangers on chat rooms. Don't meet them in parks, stuff like that.
And then we did anyway.
Yeah. But... Hey, have you been watching that 90s show on Netflix?
I watched all of it. Yeah, I did.
We haven't finished it yet, but you know what? I'm gonna be honest. I liked that 70s show. I didn't love it. I thought it was fine. It's pretty crazy how well they've just reproduced that show. It's just a sequel, like a pure sequel to that show, in a way that I really thought it would be kind of more of a spiritual sequel to that show. And you know what? The best part about it is that it's genuinely funny. I do think it's funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's funny.
And a couple of things that are different. The teenagers are played by teenagers, so that's a bit of a change. It literally takes a moment to get used to the fact that, hey, this doesn't feel right. It's because the teenagers in that 70s show are played by 20-somethings. So,
well, except for Mila Kunis, she's actually 15 or 16.
Right, which just makes it even weirder if you think about it. So we're just not going to think about that.
Yeah, no, I know. But yeah.
But the other thing that they realized, which I'm glad that they did, is that Red and Kitty are actually the main characters.
Oh,
of the
they
show,
are.
And they're the funniest. They are the funniest characters, and it's not even close. It's maybe that's just because we got older. I don't know, but man, Kitty is an iconic character.
She is, yeah.
So good. So anyway, that's a little aside. Go watch that 90s.
No,
show.
it's great. Yeah,
it's pretty funny. It's a good turn your brain. A laugh track.
The laugh track too is funny. That it's you wouldn't expect that. They don't really do that as often now with shows.
Almost not at all.
Yeah, no, it's pretty. It's nostalgic. It's cute. But yeah, you're right. It's very turn your brain off. Just watch to have a good time.
Yeah, and the storylines are so like classic sitcom storylines that are like maybe too simple, like stuff like, oh, this person got a new boyfriend and now they're gonna be obsessed with them for an episode. It's like, oh my god, it's like stuff is a little played out, I think, to some degrry, but whatever.
Good.
I'll allow it. All right, let's get into the reason I'm talking about that 90s show is because we got another. I was gonna say dud. But it's not a dud necessarily because I think it's okay. It's certainly better than last week in my opinion.
It is,
but it's not. This is not a barn burner. Like we're not.
No,
I'm not getting out of bed for Entombed and Faster. You know what I'm saying?
I'm confused as a whole. I'm confused about what's going on as an overall arching storyline and theme for the show right now. So I mean it's fine. I'm just like, I don't know.
I think the show is confused about its overall tone, and
like we'll get more into it as we get into it. But I'm just kind of like sitting here being like, okay, like, but like what are we talking about? Where is this going? What is the point of these last
marijuana? But why?
Yeah,
like, it's like I don't like, but why? Indiana Jones, but why? Like I don't. I'm all for a fun like offshoot Indiana Jones style adventure. No one's gonna, this is a, obviously comes from the brain of George Lucas, and so does Indiana Jones. So it's a fun kind of crossover thing there. But it's interesting. The show is kind of drifting in the sense that it doesn't really have a direction right now. But I think it's gonna get to that in the middle of the season.
I keep thinking the pacing is going to make sense once we get to the next episode, and it's not doing it. Yes.
Yeah, it's not yet.
I thought that the pacing would make sense in this episode. I was like, okay, well maybe we'll see where they're going with all this in the next episode, but we still have not got that,
what's the Fee's a cool character, I suppose. We talked like Wanda Sykes, sure, why not? But like, what's the point of any of this? Like, to be fair, there's a fun deeper lore connection here in this episode that we can't talk about. So that's good at least.
Yeah, we can just get into it.
Yeah, so here's the log line. The Batch searches for an ancient treasure that stirs up a shocking surprise. Directors Brad Rao and Nathaniel Villanueva. There you go. New House, I think is what that means in Spanish. And writers Dave Filoni and Jennifer Corbett, same as it's been all season. And the usual cast of characters in voices, with, of course, Wanda Sykes making a bigger than a cameo. She's like a full character in this episode.
Yes.
Okay. So, let's, and by the way, of course, I mentioned to say Indiana Jones, not just from the mind of of George Lucas, but also produced by Lucasfilm. So that's another important piece there.
Right.
And this is Lucasfilm animation. It's not technically Star Wars animation. They could make other types if they wanted. A young Indiana Jones animated show, I guess. Maybe that's what they're backdoor piloting here. I don't know. Okay. So let's get into it. Shockingly, I actually have less notes than I did for the last episode, and that was at 3.5 pages. This is only 2.5 pages of notes. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting lazier. Okay, so we start with Wrecker and Omega searching through a junkyard, probably at Ormontel, likely, for a spare compressor. While Wrecker finds the compressor, Omega grabs what is essentially junk out of the glove box. So they return to Sid's, and we see Wanda Sykes is there, Fee. She's telling a story about how she liberated the Grand Pearl of Novak. It's like a fun, self-serving adventure story. And you got the kind of the return of the two. I know they have names, but I can never remember their names. The regulars at the
bar regulars, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like super invested in the story and very excited to learn more. And we hear in the background that, of course, every time she tells the story, it's different, which I think makes for a better story. So I'm actually okay with that. And I guess this is the first kind of indication, and we get this a little bit later, but she's more treasure hunter than pirate, which is, I think, the impression we got from the first time we saw her. It is kind of nice. You kind of slow roll the intro to a character like this. So the first time you see her, they don't really like her. She comes off a little bit, little prickly. And, they just, she's just a pirate, right? And then they still kind of think that. I think she kind of earns a little bit of their respect by the end of this episode. When Omega and Wrecker arrive at the bar, Tech is quick to dismiss Omega's junk, But after further inspection by Fee, one of the pieces turns out to be what appears to be a compass. It has some sort of coordinates on it, and she believes it's thousands of years old. I mean, I don't know how much stars change over thousands of years, but would like star maps not be different after several thousands of years of years? I'm not sure.
I don't know. It depends on the star, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not
But
sure.
it just, I don't know, because how do they say that the stars that we see now could be up to like
Yeah,
tens of thousands of years old because they
Yeah,
could have
that's
been
true.
burnt out like tens of thousands of years ago.
That's
So
true. That's true. And
yeah,
the light
so
still hasn't faded yet because
yes,
it's taken that long to
exactly.
get to us.
I was like, I don't know, it's Star Wars. So
What am I? What are the cosmetologist?
I'm assuming those like star maps, those still have like coordinates, right? Like it's still
Yeah, but I think star maps are based on location of stars, and I think they do move.
fair.
But I don't know if 1,000 or 2,000 years is enough time. In the
I
grand
don't know.
scheme of the cosmos.
Probably not. Probably
right?
not.
Probably not. So anyway, again, I'm just trying to find things to talk about here. So they find the compass. She believes it points towards treasure, something ancient. We learn the coordinates on the compass point to the Kaldar trinary system. I love the word trinary. It's a good word. I'm going to just quickly do a search for the Kaldar trinary system and see if it comes up with anything. I'm going to guess it will not.
Probably just what was said in this episode.
Probably just what was said in this episode, indeed. Let's see. Wikipedia has what to say. It's like a 2-sentence paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just referenced in the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping there'd be something deeper there.
I know.
Based on the connection that we should just spill the beans on it now since we're going to talk about it the whole time. Do you know what I'm hinting at here?
Is this like the what did Adam, my fiance, was bringing it up with me today? The stuff from Jedi Fallen Order?
Yeah, well, I don't know for sure. There's no proof to this, but it
Right.
seems likely that it is tied into Jedi: The Fallen Order, and there's an ancient species, very Metroid-like in that game. But they're called the Zepho, which is a stupid name.
Zepho, yes.
The Zepho, also known as the Zephonians, were an ancient sentient species native to the planet Zepho. Many Zepho could wield the Force, which they refer to as the Life Wind, and those who did became known as sages. So they had their own
Gotcha.
Jedi essentially. They predate the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
They originated as a peaceful civilization. Over time, they became more and more corrupt, eventually falling to the dark side of the Force. Facing extinction, the remnants of the Zepho fled into the great unknown, hoping to finally find peace. So that's the Wikipedia entry on them. There's a lot more to it, of course, as if you play the game, you learn a lot about the Zepho. I haven't played it. I want to replay it again before the new game.
See, like I played a bit of it. I'm not like great at video games. There's certain ones that I'm good at, and there's certain ones that I'm just not. And I was like okay at playing that one, but I mostly just watched my partner play it because I kind of like
set it to super easy and just like.
No, that's kind of what I did. But I just ever since I was a kid, I grew up with like 2 older brothers, so I grew up just like watching them play video games. So I generally like watching other people play video games, especially like Fallen Order is like a good storyline to follow. So
it's a fun story.
So I was just mostly just watching Adam play, and then doing that like sly girlfriend thing where I would like when he was stuck at things, I would like Google the answers and then just like lightly prod him in the right direction on what he should do. while still letting him do it himself. But I was just like, hey, this is taking too long, and I would just like Google what he was doing wrong to try and figure out some of the puzzles so I could just tell him, because I'm like, I want to watch the story progress. So
here's the appearances. I don't think they're in any particular order. They appear in the High Republic Adventures: The Monster of Temple Peak 2, mentioned only in flashback. Of course, Star Wars: The Jedi Fallen Order, but then also the tie-in comics Jedi Fallen Order: Dark Temple 2, 3, 4, and 5, where they appear as statues in flashbacks and pictured or mentioned.
Have not read those.
They're also in The Princess and the Bog: A Twin Tale Part 1, Star Wars Adventure from 2020, and appear as a picture, which is interesting. I don't, that seemed, I guess that's all around that same time, but fascinating. Anyway, that's the connection to the Zepho, which is a couple things. Eventually, they get to this mountain, and we'll talk about all the things that lead up to that in a second. But at the end of this mountain, they have to go through all these puzzles and all that kind of stuff. What I like about this episode, which I think is very fun, is that it maintains all the puzzle stuff that you have to do from the game.
Okay, yeah.
Which was purely just game mechanic stuff to fill
Mhm.
time. So, okay, so the Zepho are all into puzzles. That's their thing.
Yeah.
So in this case, we find more puzzles, and I think that's the kind of I think that piece is the solidifying piece that it is in fact the Zepho. That and the visual look of it, we don't know for sure. It could just be coincidence, but the fact that they have to go through all these puzzles to me indicates that okay, yeah, it's probably that same species.
Yeah. I love a
Yeah.
good puzzle like scene too. Like
Sure.
I don't know, I like those kind of like tomb puzzle escape
Sure, yeah, move the light
shows,
here,
moves.
line
Yeah,
these things up. I think they're more fun to do when you're playing them. And I was
probably.
thinking about this while I was watching the episode yesterday, and I was thinking, this isn't that satisfying. Like, I know they're gonna figure it out, and I'm just gonna watch them solve the puzzle. It's so weird. Like,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
fair.
So that's just a minor nitpick.
I think it's just frustrating watching other people try and figure out puzzles when you're like, just want to do it yourself.
I didn't. Well, yeah, that it's like it's not like I had the answer. It's just like
No.
I know they're gonna find the answer, so it's not like there was no real exciting twist there. Right?
Yeah, fair
Or
enough.
like in Indiana Jones movies, they think they make it more exciting, where it's like, oh, it turns out you were standing on the solution or something like that the whole
Right.
time. That's always satisfying.
It's like a big thing, and like because I play Dungeons and Dragons with my work friends every once in a while, and like they're like a big part of D&D is puzzles. A lot of the times, it's like you're in some kind of dungeon and you're trying to figure out, how to get through certain walls or whatever. And there's always
Right.
like different ways you have to think about things. So maybe that's just why I like them more. Like I like puzzles.
Fair enough. But at least in that case, you're actually solving them.
But yes, yeah.
Okay, so we also meet Fee's droid named Mel. We'll learn more about that droid later. R.I.P. They convince Hunter that they need to go on this treasure hunt. Basically, it's just Omega being super excited. It's like, oh, we gotta go. Go. Wrecker was kind of into it too, though.
Yeah, that's true. Well, he's kind of childlike as well.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I don't know why her like obsession with treasure is getting annoying to me. It's a little annoying. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way she says treasure that I'm just like, can she shut up about treasure already?
Like, there's got to be more important stuff to do.
Just like everything's about treasure. Like the last couple other episodes where she's like looking through the cloud. Is it treasure? It's like, is that treasure? It's like, shut up. Just fucking let it go.
Yeah. You don't even know the value of money.
Yeah, it's like when we first met you, you were like pumped about dirt. And now you're just upset about treasure. Where did that come from? But...
I don't know. Cool people rub off. Like, so she just likes V, and then I think that rubs off on her.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the ship, there's a debate over the distinction between a pirate and a treasure hunter, or she calls it a liberator of ancient artifacts, which I think that's again kind of tropey. I think we've heard that kind of that same spiel before in other places.
Oh yeah.
But this episode's all about kind of paying off those tropes, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. But I mean, yeah, like Pirate with a Heart of Gold, that's a pretty standard Star Wars theme at this point.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Mel apparently keeps track of all of her adventures for her. This reminds me, of course, of Solo, where
L2.
Yes. Well, I guess L2 was he telling L2 the stories? Yeah, I guess so. Right, the droid of what's his name?
Of Lando.
Yeah.
But then they end up putting they put her like central whatever processing unit in the Falcon.
Terrifying. It's best not to think about that.
Yeah.
They basically strip her of her free will and shove her into a machine with no arms or legs. Anyway, and then she's just trapped there, forced to do calculations for the rest of her life. Anywho, best not. That movie brings up the whole concept of like droid free will, and it's very unsettling if you think about it too long.
Yes.
But no, I mean, there's like I don't know if it's a deleted scene or if it's like in the movie. I think it is, where he's got his feet up on the dash and he's like recounting his like adventures or whatever. Lando is. So that's kind of what it reminds me of in that scene.
Right.
That she's kind of like she's sitting there and she's like telling Mel her adventures, so they can be like saved for like audiobooks later. And you also get the impression that she likes to embellish her stories. Obviously, we saw that about her changing her story all the time. But like again, like I said, that just makes for better stories. So she's not just a treasure hunter; she's also a storyteller. So
yes, yeah.
When they arrive on the planet, we see that it's been raised. Really great word, R-A-Z-E-D. Not like raising up a flag
No.
or something. It's like destroyed, burnt
Yeah.
away, unlivable. It kind of reminded me a lot of Anaxis. The way everything, it's like they kind of just took the Anaxis design and kind of like turned it gray and black. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I got that very like scorched earth kind of
Yeah.
feel from it, right? Like it just looks like there was some major like destruction
But
that
it
went
does,
through
I mean,
there.
and we know why later. We learn why
Well,
it's like
yes.
that. Although it looks like the entire planet's that way. Maybe
Yeah.
it's
I don't
unclear.
know. Yeah.
It's at other times it looks like there's like green forest. At other times it's like gray. Everything's gray and black. So it's interesting. Why would they land in that exact spot? Yeah, it's all just convenience. Good thing they were within walking
Coordinates. I don't
distance of
know.
the coordinates.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they land there and they figure out, it's like, oh, this is weird. It's been destroyed. Why would anyone hide treasure here? First hint that something's not quite as it seems.
That's the
right?
best place to hide treasure.
Right. I mean, I thought that, but
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. To me, it makes sense.
well, in Treasure Island, they had buried on a beautiful tropical island.
Well, yes,
so.
of course.
Okay, so I do have to mention that I thought the rendering the of the backgrounds and of the landscapes here is quite nice. Despite it being, scorched earth, literally, it still looks very good. Well rendered. I like the outdoor environments much more than the indoor environments in the Bad Batch. And
Well,
all the
this one's
animated
hard
shows.
too because it's so dark. Like,
Yeah.
and they're basically just in like tunnels.
Yeah, it's just like a tomb.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hence the title. So as they're discussing their surroundings, the compass activates on its own and points them in a direction south. I guess Tech can understand the compass because he's part machine, is what we're led to believe.
You mean Echo?
Sorry, yes. Echo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get those two confused all the time.
I know you do.
They arrive on the side of a mountain and are surprised to discover a secret entrance buried behind boulders. So that's kind of fun. I actually really like the way that they're like, a secret entrance. And they're like, oh my God, it's actually a secret. Like, I would feel the exact same way. Skeptical at first, but as soon as there's a secret entrance, holy shit,
You'd
I'm
be
in.
pumped. Yeah,
Yeah,
you'd be so pumped. Yeah.
Yeah. Hunter's still very skeptical. This is also the first time we get a glimpse at the creature that's following them. There's got to be some sort of stakes here, I guess. It can't just be a whimsical treasure hunt. There has to be something. So there's some sort of creature following them, like a dragon-like thing. Inside, Tech believes the carvings on the wall are easily 1,000 years old. Fee thinks they're older than that, and that they're in the entrance to what they call Scaranal.
Mm-hmm.
I said a prairie legend, but it's a pirate legend, Julian, not prairie. A pirate legend that traces back to the ancients, older than the Jedi.
You gotta love those pirate legends.
I love pirate legend. There might be no better legend than a pirate.
I like how
legend.
pirates are just like, they're pirates. They just know these things. Like
They have
there's
their
just
own thing. Yeah.
yeah, their own database of just like cool legends and treasure.
I would love
shit.
to hear Hondo talk about Scaranal. What's Hondo have to say about it?
Yeah, right.
It's said it holds the heart of the mountain, some sort of treasure of some kind. I'm not sure how she comes to the conclusion that that's where she is, but because I guess it's in a mountain. That's the best.
I guess. Yeah.
What do you feel about the whole idea that they found this compass in a junkyard and they just conveniently stumbled across all this stuff?
I mean, yeah, it's like it's obviously very convenient. Yeah, I was thinking about that a little bit, but I just didn't want to like dwell on it too much. It's kind of just
like, what are you supposed to say?
Yeah, it's like it is what it is. It's like, yep, it is super convenient, but what can you do?
I almost would have rather they bought it at like at somewhere or something.
Yeah, right. Or like, I don't know, like they found like a really cool looking old ship in the junkyard, like something a little bit more like, oh, why were you looking at that spot specifically? Right. It is very smart of Omega to be looking in like the quote unquote glove compartment.
The glove box, yeah.
Because I'm like, I mean, yeah, like that is where cool shit like that would probably be. But you're right.
Like,
it is
how did it end up on that ship? Like, there's so many interesting things that you like. Because like, so you can, again, I hate to rewrite stories after they've been done, but like, imagine if they got like boarded by pirates and then happened to like that happens to be something that's left behind.
Yeah,
or
right.
whatever.
Like it would make more sense to find that in with some other loot or like in with some other
something
stuff,
else
not
that's
just like
valuable.
laying in a junkyard. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, whatever is what it is.
Yeah, whatever is the only way to answer that, really.
Yeah.
Okay. So they arrive at the mountain. There's a secret entrance inside, 1,000 years old. But also, anytime that something's older than the Jedi, that's always fun.
Oh yeah,
I
love
like that the clones are like, when she says the ancients, she's the Jedi, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
that's all.
Yeah.
That's like they're the most ancient thing that they know. Which I think that's interesting. Although I don't think it's clear that not a lot of people know about the Zepho or really any of the ancient species. A few maybe, but Zepho
Yeah.
probably not. So they've come across their first puzzle, and they need to, what they think is, align symbols to open the door. We've got this cylindrical room. It's got different layers, and you'd spin the cylinders to align the symbols. As they look to solve the puzzle, they trip a booby trap, and they lock themselves inside. Classic mistake, right? Although I will mention, they leave Mel behind later, and then I guess maybe when they open the second door, it opens up the where they came from.
It does. You can see in the background that it's almost like the room they're in is like a cylinder that moves, and then there's different like openings depending on how you turn it.
So that's how Mel gets out of there.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah, because you do see that the front door, or quote unquote front door, opens again when they figure it out.
Okay, good to know. It's not there's no plot hole.
No.
All right.
There's a real hole in the wall.
That a wall hole
walks out of.
But also be wary of holes in walls. Not something you want to deal with. Okay. As they trip the thing. Omega then discovers that if they look through the compass, it will reveal secret symbols on the wall in blacklight, basically.
Yeah.
And this is, by the way, a classic move that they do in escape rooms where things are written, but then you flip the blacklight on, different stuff.
Yeah,
right?
or it's like
that's the right stuff.
Exactly, or you have like a flashlight or whatever the hell.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they basically are in a fancy escape room, and so they discover these symbols. They put the compass onto the lantern. It lights up the whole room, and they solve the puzzle. By the way, as they're doing this, the music gets very like orchestral, choral, loud. That kind of thing. It's very Indiana Jones. This whole episode's Indiana Jones inspired. Kevin Kiner,
it is, yeah, of
still,
course.
Crushing it from the music department. 3 very different scores over the last 3 weeks, right? I think still the best one is the Solitary Clone. Then you get the wacky techno stuff last week, and now this stuff, which is very like Indiana Jones inspired. That's not easy to do, so props where it's due, I would say. They leave Mel behind, as I mentioned, and they head deeper into the mountain. Fee talks about how the heart of the mountain is supposed to be the key to some ancient power, which makes it worth a lot. Second clue that this treasure isn't exactly just a regular ass treasure. As they continue walking, Hunter's spidey senses start to tingle. I actually thought this was a really cool shot where he's standing and then his hand slowly moves towards his blaster.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. And the beast that was following them attacks them from the roof. Luckily, it went after Wrecker first, because he's able to survive like the physical pounding.
The physical pounding of a massive beast.
Yeah. And this causes a cave-in, which separates the teams. Also, classic move where you get separated. Tech, Echo, and Wrecker take side tunnels on their own to meet up with them, and Fee, Hunter, and Omega keep looking for the treasure. Of course, they don't actually kill the beast; it escapes. But what do you make of this gray thing?
The beast?
The beast.
I mean, it's okay. I don't know. I'm going to be cynical here. I guess this is my episode to be a little more nitpicky. But I'm like, it's obviously just there because they need some kind of like other conflict,
yeah, because
right?
if the whole planet's destroyed, what is it
Why
eating?
is that thing there? Well, yeah, exactly. What is it eating? What's going on? Like, is it mad? Is it like protecting? Is it guarding? Like,
it's
what?
It's also impervious to blaster fire, which is
which is always convenient. Yeah, it's fine.
In the episode breakdown that Screen Crush does, friend of the show. Not friend. He's not friend of the show. I should
Friend of the show.
Ryan,
Doesn't know who we are.
Friend of the show, Ryan Airy, said that maybe there's a connection to the Zillow Beast or the Xylo
I was
Beast.
going to ask that, the Zillow Beast. I was like just thinking that.
Kind of looks like one. It's also impervious to like lightsabers and blaster fire.
I don't know. Zillow Beasts have like way more stuff going on
There's like
to
an
them.
extra arm, I feel like, on the Zillow Beast. But maybe this one's still young enough that it hasn't grown.
They have like
yet.
weird fingers and stuff.
And so think about it this way.
I don't know.
Think about it this way.
Could be.
The theory was at the time that maybe the Zillow Beast was like a genetically engineered experiment to like combat the Jedi. Or
Gotcha,
the Force
yeah.
users, right? So what if this walker was designed by the Zillow Beast, by the Zepho, too many Zeds, designed by the Zepho to fight Zillow Beasts.
Could be.
And this is a baby one because they've killed all the mom.
Yeah, maybe that's where they all come from. I don't know.
I'm really stretching here to find connections, but I mean, it's interesting enough. Sure, why not?
Yeah, sure, could be.
Yeah, I like the concept. If it doesn't turn out to be that way, wow, shoot.
Yeah, it's just like a monster, right? Like I don't know. There's always. I just feel like a lot of times when you're in a maze or a tomb or a whatever, a not a sarcophagus, but you know what I mean, a pyramid.
If you're in a sarcophagus, he's got bigger problems.
Yeah, it's like there's some kind of monster in there too.
Yes, always.
That's like creeping around, lurking around in the depths.
I mean, not in Indiana Jones though, right?
No.
I mean, snakes. He doesn't like snakes.
Yeah, I guess so. But
there's no monster.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess I'm more thinking of like Lord of the Rings and like
that
kind of stuff.
That scene at the beginning is quite similar to Lord of the Rings. You think about like when they're like finding the secret entrance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very much like entering Khazad-dûm in the first movie.
Yeah,
right. And they have to
lots of stuff creeping around,
and Gollum's following them, and you kind of have this very similar shot of them like watching as they enter. It's kind of, Okay, so next, Hunter leads them, and them being Omega and Fi, through a cylindrical tunnel. Fi and Omega notice, there's more glowing markings on the ceiling, and they're like, wait, don't go any further. But just as that moment, Hunter triggers another booby trap, nearly falling to his death into a chasm. But he saves himself at the last second with help from Fi by using his grappling hook. And Fi is excited to solve this. It's like, ooh, another puzzle. Hunter, a little grumpy. I think
he says, so funny. He's exasperated through this whole mission.
Like, I didn't want to be here.
Yeah, he didn't want to go. He's like mad. He's like, we've almost died twice. Like he's just sighing the whole time, like a dad would, like just being like, man, like why are we doing this? I don't want to be here just because this, he's just entertaining like the pirate that he already thinks tells tall tales, and because Omega likes her so much and he obviously cares for Omega, he's just like, man, this kid's dragging us treasure hunting with this stupid pirate.
The second time.
Yeah.
And
I just like how exasperated he is.
Yeah, me too. And I love how Fi's like, oh, someone's in a mood. And calls him Bandana. I think it's good stuff. She should have called it. She should have made fun of his face tattoos more.
Oh,
I really liked that the first time she did that. Okay. So he just, Hunter's just worried about getting themselves out of there in one piece. Omega puts the compass into a special spot on the wall and uses it to rotate the cylindrical walkway so they can make it through. I just felt like this puzzle was too simple.
Just lots of rotating stuff.
You just rotate this and then that's it. And it's like one straight line path. Like it's not like you don't have to like rotate multiple sections.
Right, or like step a certain way where it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, come on, Filoni, add a little bit more to that.
Which is also a reference to Indiana Jones. I mean, you can only get so far. I mean,
I guess that's true.
In The Last Crusade, they have to walk on the steps a specific way.
So do they? Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I'm not not that I have seen that movie, but I'm not a avid
they have
rememberer
to
of
walk
Indiana
on the
Jones.
Stones. This is from the
fine.
The
I guess can't steal everything from them.
From Ryan Airy. Yeah, Ryan Airy talks about it. I don't want to tell you. I'm recycling that, but it's true because they have to walk through the steps and it spells God in Hebrew. So anyway.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. There's actually more Indiana Jones references to come, so just be prepared for that. All right. So they aren't able to get the compass back. I like how she's like disappointed at first, but then Fi is like, no, Scarnal has reclaimed it. And she's like, oh, yeah. They
Yeah.
cloned it. Yeah, cool. That's way cooler when you say it like that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the rest of the team do nothing and end up with the rest of them at the same
Yeah.
dead end.
Right?
They do nothing at all.
Yeah,
They
just
literally have
walk
no.
there.
They have no mission at all. They have nothing happens to them separately. They literally just turn around a
No.
corner and happen to be in the exact same place. So that's cool.
Works out.
Yeah. When I was writing that, I was like, wow, that's wild. And then of course we find out that they get to this door and Tech is like, ooh, what kind of puzzle we got now? And he's like into it, right? But then Fee's like, well, sometimes a door is just a door. And they open it and are treated to a view of the treasure, a blue purple crystal obelisk type thing. The stone, they eventually start calling it. Fee removes it from its resting place. And immediately an earthquake starts shaking the mountain. They're like, whoa, my God, what's happening? The room that they're in lights up with all these white glowing carvings and starts to spin and rotate. We then see outside shots of a blue beam of light emerging from the mountain, followed by what looks like a volcano erupting.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
Yeah, and Mel running away from the falling boulders.
Yeah. See, when this started happening, I was like, whoa, what the hell? I was like, this is cool. I thought they were going to find like a really cool ship.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, which is whatever, is what it is. But I was like, this actually finally grabbed my attention fully for this episode. I was just like, oh shit, okay, something's like big is happening.
It reminds me of, do you remember Power Rangers, the first original season of Power Rangers?
Oh,
did you watch that?
I did, but I was a young
well,
child.
when they call the Zords, I think that's what they're called. They're giant machines that they like drive.
Yes, yeah.
One of them would come out of a volcano.
Right.
So that's
okay.
That's what this reminded me of, and I don't know. That's probably not an accident, but I guess the idea is that this machine is emerging from within the mountain. That it has been there so long that a mountain literally like grew around it or something. Unclear how that works, but it was inside the mountain.
Right.
And so as the room stabilizes, we see that it's a massive walker that has emerged from the mountain, is in the process of blasting giant beams of energy at the ground for no reason. I didn't really understand why it was like blasting shit on the ground for no reason.
That's what it does. Okay, you know what? I think part of the reason why I was like more disappointed with this episode is like once I saw what the thing looked like, it looks like a Pokemon. It's a it's a real
like
Pokemon. If you type in Dialga, Dialga, it's a Pokemon that you get in Pokemon Arceus, like midway, half
have
like
you
a little.
Playing Pokemon?
I have been, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
Dialga.
you get it like near the end of the first arc of the game, and it looks the same as this thing pretty much, and it also shoots energy like that. So I was like, that's literally the Pokemon from Pokemon Arceus. So I was just like, all right, I guess.
That's the kind of deep cut stuff I'm looking for here. So that's good. That's quality stuff.
But yeah, that just like immediately popped in my brain. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I have that Pokemon in my Pokemon game. So I don't know. I think it would have been cooler if it was like a really badass like ship.
Well, it is technically a badass ship. It's just
it's just like a weapon that just starts immediately just blasting everything in front of it.
Here's my theory. Okay. The Zepho created this weapon to fight Zillo beasts, right? This is my theory, right?
Okay, yeah.
And it works, but it ultimately destroys the whole planet.
Right.
Okay. And so what they do is they turn off the machine by putting this key into it.
Right.
And lock it away underneath this mountain so that no one can find it.
Mm-hmm.
But just in case someone needs to, they'll build a bunch of puzzles so that people can get in.
Just in case you might need it again.
Like, in case they might need it again, they're going to build... that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I would assume there are ways, like... Okay. So the Zepho are, like, force sensitive, right? Correct.
So if you had the force, you could have maybe controlled
it. I would assume that there is a way to control this thing other than just being like, oh, there's a magic stone, and you can only use it once. And then it explodes.
It's also weird. Like, why does it like go? It's so like why does putting it back to where it was destroy the whole machine?
Yeah, that was another thing that I was kind of like, I thought maybe they were setting this thing up like, oh shit, maybe that like, this will come back around. Like the Empire is gonna find this thing, something bad's gonna, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's more
No,
purpose
it
to
just
it.
falls. It just gets destroyed.
Yeah,
And and the stone melts.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of like left feeling very like empty-handed at the end of
Well,
this episode.
that's also a classic Indiana Jones adventure tale cliche.
I guess
The
so.
adventurer never gets to keep the treasure at the end. This is true in Uncharted. This is true in Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider, all that stuff. They don't get to keep it. It either belongs in a museum,
Right.
or it gets like they have to leave it behind. Think of the
Right.
chalice and all that kind of stuff. You have to they actually just made a reference to that like this season. They said let it go to Omega when she was talking like the treasure, right? That was also an Indiana Jones reference. They can't help themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. So once the door opens, yada yada yada, yada yada yada. Tech surmises that they need to return the treasure to its original position to turn off the machine. Very clever of Tech to come up with that. Who could have guessed? The threat being that it could destroy the. That's sorry. That's just that's too snarky. I'm going to turn off the snark a little.
Turn off the snark.
I just had just a little. Just tone it down a little
bit.
The threat being that it could destroy their ship and leave them stranded. That's literally the only threat. Because I remember when this happened, I was like, "Oh, this is cool. They're going to figure out how to make it work." But instead, it's like, "Oh shit, the ship is outside. We can't let the ship be destroyed." And I guess it seems as though because we see Mel get destroyed, it seems as though it's like attracted to technology.
Like that's kind of what I assumed. Like it's just looking for things that are like moving or tech to like zero in on them and destroy them.
But we have to just assume this because none of this is in the text. We just have to kind of
see, like I thought what you thought, that like maybe Tech and Echo can like figure out how to like shut this thing down or how to control it, or like
no, they don't know. They keep saying I don't know what's going on. Nothing's working. They say.
Yeah, which is like, okay, maybe it's force sensitive. Like, not that the machine itself is force sensitive, but it takes someone with that like force.
Sure, I like that idea. I didn't consider that. I think that's a fair assessment.
So maybe it's just something a little bit more complicated, but it is a very cool thing to like bring into the universe that these exist. Yeah. So there could be more of them. Whatever.
I hope not. They're not. They seem to be pretty like
destructive.
Destructive.
Well, yeah, but that's
also,
the thing.
Like also
in the
like
wrong
buggy,
hands.
Like I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe,
it's like
maybe this is like a security measure so that if you activate it and you're not a Jedi, then you can't. You're gonna kill yourself
and everyone around you. But this is like the type of thing that Star Wars loves to be like. Show you that like, oh, look at this really cool thing, but like it can be disastrous in the hands of the Empire. The Empire would love something like this to just use to wipe out their enemies and to use compliance and that kind of stuff, right? They love a big scary weapon.
Yeah, and obviously they build one with the Death Star. But
exactly. But
and there is reference to the ancient beings in the galaxy having the early Jedi Sith Wars being obsessed with super weapons.
Right, yeah.
And this may be just another example of another super weapon. This one obviously not the size of a moon, but Okay. So they're like, oh, we just got to put the thing back, and then they have to convince Fee to like give up the treasure. And she's like, okay, you owe me.
You always got to convince one of the treasure hunters to give up the treasure.
And usually they don't want to. But they're interrupted by the monster who breaks into the room, causing Fee to drop the treasure under the floor. In the process of retrieving it, she almost falls out of the walker to her death. But she's caught by Hunter just in time. Now they're even. The walker continues to blast energy, and we see it destroy Mel. R.I.P.
Yeah, he's so cute. Just whatever, just like waddling away. Yeah.
Could have been any type of droid, but they gave it it's a droid with short legs, which is way funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Back inside, they continue to fight the monster, which looks kind of like a baby Zilla beast, like I said before. Impervious to blaster fire, but luckily they work as a team and throw the beast out the window. That's it. Hunter gets the stone just in time to turn off the machine before it destroys the ship. When they put the stone back in, it seems to destroy the walker. As it crashes back down to the ground, the stone itself melts. They emerge from the crash unscathed, but Tech is quick to point out that they are now 0 for 2 in treasure hunting, despite having help of a professional. And on the way back to the ship, Hunter is glad that no one is able to use the walker again, kind of talking about what you said, like, oh, at least the Empire can't use it.
Yeah.
Omega apologizes for Mel, but we learn that Fee is backed up to her ship's memory banks, so she'll rebuild her and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And
you always gotta have those memory backups.
Yeah, gotta have good memory banks. And then We learn that her next mission is a lead on a chalice, which of course is another reference to Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, on Vadane, and that it belonged to the Kingdom of Elways, which I like to think is a funny kind of football thing. It's like, oh, Elways, the Elways. It just sounds like a fun.
Football?
Sounds like a fun. Yeah, Elway, the famous quarterback from the NFL. You don't remember this?
No
Anyway,
clue.
that's my guess, but it could be could be wild.
That's such a deep reference.
Yeah, you never. I mean,
What
I don't
are
know.
you talking about?
It sounds funny. John
That's
Elway.
funny.
John
Fair
Elway.
enough. That's really funny. If it is, that's the most hilarious thing to put in Star Wars. It's just a random reference to an NFL football player for no reason.
John Elway won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos, and now owns the team, or is like their
Did he
executive or
do
whatever.
it by using the Force or treasure hunting?
I don't know. He's only ever won one, so actually not true. I think he might have actually won a couple.
That's funny.
But I'm guessing that's someone who is a John Elway fan, and they threw that in there as a fun reference. There's also a reference to the Belmonts in this episode, which might be a Castlevania reference, which they're also treasure hunters, kind of. So maybe that.
Interesting.
Anyway, that's the episode. Didn't love it. Shall we read another IMDb review?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. This one's from Bin Kanguyen.
How do I make IMDb reviews?
I don't. There's a little button that says plus review, so I think you can just leave your own. So this one says, so boring, another boring filler.
I mean, yeah.
I thought last week's episode, Faster, was the worst episode in season 2, but I was wrong when this week's episode, Entombed, released. No character development. The plot doesn't move forward. This also is full of spelling errors, so I'm just gonna. I'm going to this is the featured review. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Last week's episode is filler, but at least it gave Tech's character development and set up Sid's betrayal. I hope this episode, Entombed, will continue what Faster episodes set up, but it doesn't.
No.
It's just boring and useless. Mission of the week with Fee instead of Sid, and has no connection with previous episodes.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, I feel like the Bad Batch show wastes its potential. The show should have to tell the story about the foundation and growing of the Empire. I don't know if it doesn't have to do anything.
Well,
about
no,
Order
but
66,
like
inhibitor chips, and mainly the conflict between Crosshair, such as the first 3 episodes. I want more deep and dark episodes, just like the Solitary Clone episode of the Andor series. I mean, this is a lot of people are saying that. I would like a little bit more nuance. Some filler can be added, but it must connect to the previous episodes and give character development, world building, etc. Unlike this week's episode, Entombed. I'm not sure why he keeps referencing the name of the episode like 3 times, but
yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, sounds like it was written by a child. It was upvoted 8 times. That's apparently all it takes to get feature review. Maybe you should start rating the reviews, and you can be the feature review.
Yeah, I should. I'll get in there instead. We can just upvote our own from a bunch of different accounts.
Right. Hey, don't give away our secret. How do you get listeners?
But like, okay, so overall, here are my feelings about it. I don't understand. Similar to what this person said, is like why we don't have some kind of overarching storyline, because there's so much happening with the Empire right now and the rising of the Empire. They dropped us this, not a bomb, but they dropped a little bit of a hint at the end of episode 2 about Rampart learning that the Bad Batch is still alive, and him like, why are we not like seeing anything happen with that over the next 3 episodes after that? So you just like, you bring it up in episode 2 and then we've heard nothing about it since. It's just like, like Crosshair's episode in episode 3 was amazing, but it's like, then we don't hear anything from him for 2 episodes. So I'm kind of like, what is the like overarching storyline here? Like, what are we supposed to be doing? Where are we going? And I keep thinking we're going to go somewhere, and it's like, it's not. These last few episodes have just been kind of one-offs.
I'm wondering if they had these ideas for the first season and they're like, well,
maybe
we couldn't fit it in, so let's put it at the beginning of season 2 when we get these out of our system, and then we can get back to the core of the show. Or here's the other thing, and I mean, fans might not want to hear this. The other thing is they might be trying to refocus the show onto maybe what they thought was its core demographic, which is children.
Could be.
Right?
And like that's fine. If that's where it's going, I just need to know that. So
Yeah.
I'm not like because
Right.
we've had these like it's so hard to have these episodes that do have so much substance and then to just kind of jump it feels scattered and it I don't know. It's hard for me if I knew ahead of time that okay, yeah, the Bad Batch is just supposed to be fun, kind of one off, whatever, like just stories, just adventure episodes. I'm fine with that. I want to know that.
Yeah.
But
So
like I said, it's
here's
when
another
there's so
review.
much other shit going on that I'm like, well, what the hell? What about all this other like bigger stuff that I
So
would love to keep
the
seeing?
feature review we got was 2 out of 10. That's what they gave it. So here's one. I was looking for the highest rated one I could find on here. Most are 5, 6, 2. There's an 8. There's an 8 out of 10 here that says very interesting episode. This is from Ingra88. It looks like the Bad Batch series has run out of steam, but then I could be very wrong. These couple episodes could be a filler to something bigger. We'll see. It's like watching an Indiana Jones story and Lara Croft and a mix of Star Wars. Yep, and that actually is in and of itself is actually quite fun.
It
Still
is, yeah.
entertaining. In this story, could be creating a new. Oh man, again, it is a low bar here for these reviews on IMDb in terms of like there's no one checking these. Could be very interesting. I don't know. They're basically saying it could be setting up more world building to some like legends or something like that.
Right. Which we'll see, I guess, but I feel like I keep asking that, and we keep being like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
well, maybe that's what we said about last week's episode. Like, okay, we're like, well, maybe this is setting up for something else next week, and then we get this one that is just completely not even associated with the last week's episode.
Yeah.
So
I think that review it gives an 8, but the writing sounds like more like they wanted to give it a 6, to be honest. But
yeah.
Anyway, so that's this episode. I don't know what to tell you. It's not that great, but it makes for quick episodes here. We're coming up right at an hour, and I got to run to hockey soon, so that all works out well for me.
I mean,
overall, I think like I said, I like the idea of a Indiana Jones themed Star Wars episode.
Sure.
That's fine, but it's almost like if they had just not done that solitary clone episode in episode 3,
they should have put it somewhere else at this point.
Exactly.
I'm like, if we maybe got this like that one next week and then we got into some like heavier or like more important stuff, then I'd be like sick. Like,
okay,
but
now
it's
like they just teased us. It's like,
yeah,
why would you show us that and then these 2 episodes? It's this is really, hey, really what we're doing is reliving everything that's old is new again, because this is the same feelings we had when watching Clone Wars episodes that were like, what
true.
the fuck is the point of this? and guess what? Those never came around. Really? Not really. So, maybe, there's always time. The other thing is, like, you can plant these seeds now, and that in, like,
that's true.
10 years, come back and say, hey, remember that episode that we didn't think it would matter? Turns out it was about the Zepho, and here's all this more information about the Zepho, and here's why that's cool. But we don't have that yet, so it's hard to judge it on what could be, and that's a very generous way of looking at it. So,
yeah.
But there wasn't really any character development of any kind, which is also unfortunate. Like there was really no world building, so it was very much just an homage, and I think that's fine. But when you're telling kind of a serialized story, which it sure felt like they were telling a serialized story last year for most of the season, and there was of course filler episodes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But this is feeling a lot like the Ice Spiders episode of Bando. You know what I mean? Like that. That episode, people were like, "That's cool," but like, boy, that had nothing to do with anything, eh?
Yeah.
And people were annoyed, right? Luckily for this show, it doesn't have the same audience, as big of an audience, so it's not going to get ripped to shreds as bad. But, we're here to talk about it. We gave it our best. There's not much to really pick apart, and that's kind of makes recapping it not as fun. So that's the other kind of the unfortunate bit. But other than that, I think, a lot of this stuff is already in the can. Like there's no changing the direction of the season at this point. But I will say that I'm sure that the Dave Filoni's and the Jennifer Corbett's and the Brad Rows of the world are aware that there's more interesting stories to tell, and I think those will still be coming.
Yeah, and that's why I still have hope, because I'm like, all right, like I know I need to be not too hard on this, because it's like I do trust Dave Filoni to tell good stories and to tell good stories as a whole.
Dave Filoni to bring Ahsoka back into everything he does. So Yeah, maybe that'll be next week. Okay, well, on that note, then let's wrap up. I gotta run.
Yeah.
So follow us on Twitter at Tower Babblecast, Facebook.com/Tower Babblecast, and head over to the website towerbabble.ca/live to enjoy these bitch fests. Hopefully,
sometimes we get cranky, but it's pretty few and far between, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
I don't know.
Hopefully there's not many more of those coming. But yeah, again, Thursdays at around between 7 or 8:30 Central. Keep an eye on Twitter to know when we're going to be going live. We typically tweet that out beforehand. And remember, if you want to help support the show, patreon.com/Tower Babblecast, where as little as $5 a month will get you access to our monthly film clubs. All right. Well, on that note, we'll be back next week. Let's see what the next week's title is, shall we? Next week's title is Tribe. I have no guesses. I have literally no idea.
I don't have high hopes.
I mean, this could be a Pocahontas reference for all I know, and they'll just be doing that. So I really have no idea.
Yeah, we'll see.
So we shall see. But anyway, that's next week, airing on February 1st. Until then, may the force be with you. We'll talk to you then.